Hello, Bachu. Good morning. How are you all? And how are your vacations going on? The Corona vacations. I'm sure you are not as distressed as several others because we still have, and we have to be thankful and grateful to God for all that we already have. We have food to eat, we have a home to rest in, to take shelter. So we have everything that we need to survive around us, and in fact, not just survive, but happily flourish. So, with all these gratefulness thoughts, I would begin today's story. So, the book that I have picked up today is this collection of short stories by R.K. Narayan. Have you heard R.K. Narayan's name? Well, he is one of the most celebrated authors of India. So, this book is called Under the Banyan Tree and Other Stories. And this book is published by Indian Thought Publications. And R.K. Narayan is again one of my favorite authors. And I'll read briefly about R.K. Narayan because maybe that you haven't read R.K. Narayan. So, R.K. Narayan is an enchanter, a weaver of words who keeps his audience spellbound with the rhythms and haunting images of tales. Drawn from the marketplace, the mountainside, the dusty street, the riverbank, these gentle, ironic, finely observed stories of village and city life demonstrate the power of fiction at its best. So this was about R.K. Narayan and the story. So the story that I have picked up for today is called Four Rupees. And as I go on to read this story, I would tell you that there are no images for me to show out of this book today. So you will have to uh, be focused when I read it out. I'll try to read it out slowly so that all of you can apprehend, understand the story. Uh, but for very young children, I would recommend that they may be sitting with their parents and their parents be narrating the story to them as I read it out. So before I also start this story, I must tell that these stories were written long back. So at that time, the kind of environment which would prevail, the value of money, the kind of society it was, is all reflected in these stories written by R.K. Narayan. So here we go, the story called Four Rupees. Ranga was never certain what he was going to do next. He set out of his little home in Kabir Lane, and by the time he turned the corner at Market Road, he always found some odd job coming his way. Today, a very peculiar task offered itself as he sat near the market fountain. A servant from a bungalow in the extension was going round with a searching look in his eyes. He explained, "Our brass pot has fallen into the well. Do you know anyone who can get into the well and bring it out?" he asked Ranga. Ranga said, "What will they pay for it?" "What will you want for this job?" the servant replied. "Hmm, I must see the well first, and I can't think of anything less than 2 rupees," said Ranga. "Yes, follow me," said the servant, and Ranga was astounded. He never thought that his offer would be accepted. He had never gone down a well before. He tried to excuse himself now, but the other, who's the other here? The servant. But the other would not let him go. He almost gripped him by the wrist and dragged him along. He went protesting. I don't know anything about wells, he cried. Oh, don't say that. See the well first, said the servant, and clung to him. He added, they have made life a hell for me for 4 days now. They will dismiss me if I don't do anything about it today. Please come with me. But I know nothing about wells, said Ranga. Shh! None of it with me, admonished the old servant, and smiled significantly. If you want an anna or two more, ask for it, but don't try these tricks. But, Ranga faltered. But the other offered him a beedi to smoke and silenced him. Ranga followed him, resigned to his fate. At the extension bungalow, they were at the gate. The master, his wife, and two boys. At the sight of the servant, they cried, have you found anyone? Here he is, the servant said, pointing at Ranga. Ranga shuddered and looked about helplessly. The master said, a brass vessel has fallen into the well. You must take it out. How can I, master? Replied Ranga. The servant interposed at the stage and added, you leave it to me, master. He will do it. At this, the master felt that there was a deep diplomatic game being played and merely said, all right, first see the well. They took him to the backyard. The master and the rest treated him with such consideration that he slowly began to enjoy the importance given to him. All of them surrounded him and explained how it happened. Ranga listened gravely and declared, the rope must have been worn out. They received this information with such a whoop of approval that Ranga began to feel he had made some pronouncement of profound significance. They then told him of the history of the vessel, how it was a heirloom given on the occasion of a great grandfather's marriage and handed over from generation to generation. They looked severely at the old servant. The lady added, this fool has always been warned not to touch that vessel, and yet only zinc spots must be used for drawing water from our well, said Ranga like an expert speaking. A murmur of approbation went around. Ranga began to feel that he was an established well man. They lifted the covering of the mouth of the well, and Ranga peeked in. His heart sank. Far beyond a great tunnel of rugged darkness, a patch of water gleamed. Seems to be a very deep well, said Ranga. Only 60 feet. We don't usually go into the wells deeper than 40, Ranga said. If you want 8 annas or so more, we won't grudge it, they said. You must pay me 4 rupees, otherwise I can't risk my life. After some haggling, they agreed. Ranga's last hope of backing out now vanished. He had never earned 4 rupees in a lump, and this was attractive. He needn't seek any work for 3 days at least, and could silence for once his wife and mother in law. This looked like a fortune coming his way, but a peep into that sinister patch of well at the bottom of the well neutralized all the attraction 4 rupees held, and he felt like running away. He said, turning away from the well with the air of a man turning from a satisfactory preliminary inspection. Yes, it is all right. I will come back in the evening. I have to go home now. Why? they all exclaimed. He was unable to explain. He murmured that he hadn't eaten his food yet, at which they dragged him to a passage in the bungalow, put up a leaf before him. Do you know which leaf do they serve to eat food? Yes, you guessed it right. You know it. It's a banana leaf. So, before he knew where he was, he had already eaten a very heavy meal. They stood around and encouraged him to eat more. They gave him betel leaves and areca nut, and he chewed till his lips became blood red. He felt he was an honored guest in that house. But the obligations involved in this tormented his mind. Now he felt irrevocably committed to this expedition. They allowed him to rest for about half an hour and then summoned him to the well. He felt like a condemned man. He stood for a long time gazing into the bottom of the well. He made one final attempt to extricate himself. I can't. I don't know. I can't. Don't say so, they protested. Ranga felt puzzled. Why these people were so bent upon seeing him drowned? He had a momentary impulse to dash away and escape. He glanced at those around him. They stood in a ring, as if forming a cordon. He felt that if he attempted an escape, they might pick him up boldly and drop him into the well. There seemed to be no hope of escape. He took off his ragged shirt, tucked up his dhoti. He called for a rope, tied its end to the crossbar of the well, and let the other end down into the well. He climbed the parapet, slid down the rope, and stretched out his legs to reach the foothold out into the side wall. Thus he progressed downwards. He dared not look below him. The air became warm and dark. He looked up. A blue circle of sky, a peepul seedling growing out of a cleft in the crossbar, and the hazy faces looking at him from the top. Be careful! Someone cried. Why are you hesitating? Let me come up. I can't go down. I can't go down, said Ranga. He was too scared. They cajoled him yet again and increased his remuneration by a few annas. You are halfway down already. Okay, if I don't come up again, please tell my wife. They burst out into a laugh on hearing this. He felt so helpless that he said to himself, there is no way out. Let me die. He briskly went down. It became darker and more airy at every step. His ears grew dull, and he felt a heaviness at his chest. His eyes dimmed, and he was only partly conscious when he reached the last foothold. His brain kept drumming. 4 rupees, 4 rupees, 4 rupees. I'm dying, he kept saying to himself. Or am I dead already? Ice cold water lapped his feet. He bent down precariously and took a handful of water and drank it. He then dived into the water, muttering, 4 rupees, 4 rupees, 4 rupees. His fingers combed the sandy bed and finally clutched a piece of rope. He dragged it up, and attached to it was the brass pot. It was a greater adventure going up. They had to haul him up. He lay prone on the ground for nearly an hour. When he awoke, they said, "You are a good fellow. We will call you again if anything drops into the well. Where do you live? Give us your address." He refused to say where he lived. "Give me my wages and let me go." They gave him 4 rupees and 4 annas. He looked at it and pleaded, "You promised 4 rupees and 12 annas, master." They grew indignant on hearing this. "Is there no limit to your avarice? After all, the vessel costs much less. We have given you food and everything. Go, go, learn contentment. You can never satisfy a well man. They are like this everywhere," someone added. When Ranga went home, his wife and mother-in-law were, as usual, at the door. On seeing him, his wife snarled, "It is 7 o'clock. Where am I to buy the things and cook the food? You think I am born to slave? It will be a fine lesson if you are made to do without a meal tonight." He flourished his 4 rupees and 4 annas. "4 rupees? Are you sure you didn't steal it?" he explained, showing the bruises on his elbows and knees. They just laughed and replied, "Never knew you to go near a well. More likely you have been in a scrape and pulled money out of somebody's pocket." And that's it. That's the story. Well, it's not a very funny story. It is a very serious story on the other hand, if you look at it. And if we look at a lot of poor men around us, they are on daily wages. They earn every day to earn bread for that particular day. Their family depends upon this. And look at the fate of Ranga. He risked his life to earn those 4 rupees and 4 annas. And unfortunately, even his wife and his family members at home did not value the amount of efforts he had put in to earn all that money. In fact, he was only mocked at. In today's time, in these times of corona and lockdown, a lot of our laborers, the daily wage earners, are helpless because they can't earn. And these are the times when we, as more influential people, not just influential, but more well to do people, can actually take care of them, those who earn on a daily basis. We can help them by providing food, cooked food, or raw materials, or anything. So, children, please encourage everybody around you and encourage yourself to go out and help all these needy people around you. That is the call of the time and our duty. So, with this, I close it today and I'll see you again with another story from my channel. So, till then, bye bye and enjoy.